Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandrat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Preethi Vilasini from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances and glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandrat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Accept my humble obeisances, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru and Gauranga ki Jai. This is Shivani from Washington, Virginia. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shivani Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. Thank you so much for your association, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Our glories to Srila Prabhupada, our glories to Guru Maharajas and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Preethi Vilasini Dasi, and so nice to see you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Preethi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. Thank you so much for your blessings, your presence, and gracing us by your presence. Thank you, Mataji, so much. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Anuradha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln. It's so nice to see your very animated, expressive face, Mataji. Very, very beautiful.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. The moment I hear you all, my smile automatically comes, even if it is not there. So thank you for that. And thank you for your association. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody else who would like to introduce themselves before we start with the class?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Anuradha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your warm welcoming. Very happy to see you. Hare Krishna. It's Preethi Vilasini Dasi from California.
I can see you also, Mataji. Thank you so much for giving your association and enlightening us on this wonderful topic of Caitanya Bhagavata. So please take the mic and please accept my humble obeisances and all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj and Mataji Dandavat Pranam.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for joining. So we are continuing our study of Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, written by Vrindavan Das Thakur.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the call. Thank you so much for joining us. Shreyasi. So thank you all so much for joining us and giving us your very valuable association today. And we're continuing our study of Sri Caitanya Bhagavata. And we are very happy as we are moving on to the third chapter of the Adi Khanda. So it's a great progress, and we'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaiti Jaiti Deva, Krishna Chaitanya Chandro, Jaiti Jaiti Kirti, Tasya Nitya Pavitra, Jaiti Jaiti Bhritya, Tasya Vishveshva Murti, Jaiti Jaiti Nrityan, Tasya Sarva Priyanam. All glory unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya Chandra. All glory unto his eternal and pure excellences. All glory unto the servants of the Supreme Controller of the universe. All glory to the dancing of his loving devotees. Caitanya Bhagavat Adi Khanda. Fifth verse of the first chapter. Okay, so I'll start screen sharing and we can go from there. Let's see. So we are reading Caitanya Bhagavat, and as I mentioned, we are going on to chapter 3. Here we go, Vrindavan Das Thakur's Sri Caitanya Bhagavat. Okay. Just give me a second, I'm just... Yeah, we are in the right chapter. Okay. Text 1. So this is chapter 3. And the chapter 3 is titled The Lord's Transcendental Horoscope. So what we are going to do is we are going to see the calculation of the Lord's horoscope. I know it's not a very exciting topic because it has a lot of purports on calculation of horoscope. But I'll try to explain it and see if you can relate to it. This is written by the purports or the commentaries of as you all know, the commentaries of Caitanya Bhagavat is written by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. By Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who wrote commentary on the work of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as you all know, he was a great astrologer, and he knew a lot of details about calculation of horoscope and calculation of the Panchanga based details. So obviously the purports will have some insights into horoscope. So actually today's class, I'm just giving you a heads up that it is going to be a little bit about horoscope. It might be something very new and some people might think it's a little useless, but definitely believe me, if we know a little basics, especially what is described in the purport, we can use it in various ways. It's not, horoscope necessarily doesn't mean using it only for prediction. It can also mean, you can use it for calculating the proper time because traditionally horoscopes were seen in ancient India not for predictions. They were mainly to calculate the right time to perform the right sacrifice and things like that. So having some basic knowledge is never harmful. So even if you don't understand, it's okay, because after all, you are going to see the Lord's transcendental horoscope. So just looking at it itself gives immense benefit. So we are actually going to delve into Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's purports to understand a little bit more about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I invite all of you, even if you feel it is a little overwhelming, it's okay, but at least we get the benefit of seeing the Supreme Lord's horoscope. So having said that, let's start reading the verses. Today we will read about 15 verses about this chapter that talks about the Lord's horoscope. So text 1. Prema dhana ratana pasharadhika gora chandrera bajara. Behold Gaurachandra's marketplace, where the jewels of love of Godhead are stacked high. So what is the jewel of Lord Gaurachandra that he's giving? It is the jewel of love of God. And Lord Gaurachandra is not miserly. He's actually magnificent. He's the most munificent incarnation. So munificence means to give generously. So Lord Gaurachandra is giving these jewels of love of God that is stacked high, and he's giving it very, very generously. Premadhana Ratana Pasara. So he's giving Premadhan, which is stacked high. This is the beginning of this chapter. He namate prabhura hoilavatara ge hari sankirtana kariya prachara chaturdike Haya loka grahana dekiya Ganga snane hari baliya yena dhaiya Ya Ramukha janmeha na bale hari nama seha hari bali dhaya kari Ganga snana Darshadik purna hoila uthe hari dhvani avatirna hoya hasena dvijamani. In this way, Lord Gauranga appeared by first inaugurating the Sankirtan movement. From all directions, people went to the Ganges for bath while chanting the holy name Hari. Even persons who never chanted the name of Hari in their lives also chanted the names of Hari as they ran to the Ganges for bath. The sound vibration of Hari's name filled in 10 directions. The Lord, who is the best of the Brahmanas, appeared with a smile on his face. So as we already saw in the previous chapter, Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he decided to appear during the holy time of the eclipse. And we saw how an eclipse can be very, very auspicious, though externally considered inauspicious. So that is something we saw in our previous class. So Lord Gaura Hari, he decided to appear exactly on an eclipse so that people would all be chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord. Now, it's not that only devotees chant the name of Hari at the time of an eclipse, even non-devotees, even the people who do not follow the Vedic tradition, who have no understanding of the glory of the name of Hari, were actually chanting Hari because they were actually making fun of the people who were chanting Hari. So you all know that even Namabhas, okay, while chanting the holy names, making fun of someone, you know, like we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when the Hindus or the followers of the path of the Vedic tradition would go to the bank of the Ganges to chant the holy names of the Lord during an eclipse, even the Mohammedans, they would also go and they would also try to imitate the Hindus, so-called Hindus, and chant the name of Hari. So like this, everyone was chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord. And this also had a prediction. Just by the invocation, you know, of the holy names of the Lord, and before the advent of the Supreme Lord, indicated that the Supreme Lord is going to advent and he's going to propagate the chanting of the holy names. So it says that in this verse that it was indicated that he would later preach the devotional process of chanting the holy names and thus maintain the religious principles of this age. So this is also something we saw in the previous class, that the Lord is the Yuga avatar for this age of Kali. And what is the Yuga Dharma? The Yuga Dharma is chanting of the holy names. So the Yuga avatar descends to propagate the Yuga Dharma, and that was the purpose of Lord Chaitanya's descent. So he wanted everyone to chant the holy names even before he descended. So that's why he decided to appear during an eclipse. And it's not only that, since everyone were already chanting the holy name, it was very indicative that the Lord's propagation of the holy names would be a grand success. So he came here to give the holy names. Text 6 says, Ji Jagannatha Deki Putrera Shri Mukha Dui Jana Hoilena Ananda Swarupa. After the Lord descended, and he made his holy appearance, when Mother Shachi saw her son's face that was as beautiful as a moon, her heart was filled with ecstasy. Ki vidhi garibai haki chui naspruhe aste vyaste nari gana jaya jaya pukare. They were so overwhelmed that they did not know what to do. The ladies there became excited and simply exclaimed, Jaya Jaya. All the assembled ladies were totally bewildered because of what? Seeing the beauty of the child. The child was looking so beautiful. Everyone came from all directions, and we also saw some descriptions of the beauty of the Lord, how his eyes were, how his nose was, and how he had 32 different symptoms of a great personality. He had the marks of a great personality. So everyone was so overwhelmed looking at the beauty of the child, and they were seeing the Supreme Lord himself right in front of their eyes. So they were totally bewildered, and all that came out of their mouth was Jaya Jaya, because they didn't know what else to say. Because sometimes when we are very excited, we really don't know what we are talking, right? So like that, the ladies, they all assembled there and they were out of words. So they were just exclaiming Jaya 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 when they saw this beautiful baby. Dhaya ailaya sabe yata apta gana ananda hoila jagannatira bhavana. All the relatives came rushing to the house of Jagannath Mishra, and the whole household became filled with bliss. Aptagana means one's relatives. Apta means one who's very dear. So Aptagana means the class of people who are very dear to oneself, which is one's relatives. Text 9. Shachira Janaka Chakravarti Nilambara Pratilagni Adbhuta Dhekena Vipravara. Okay, so since you all like interactive sessions, a question: what is the meaning of Janaka? Anyone wants to tell?
Father?
Yeah,
Father.
yeah. So who's Shachira Janaka? It is Chakravarti Nilambar. Nilambar Chakravarti is the father of Mother Shachi. So he came, I mean, we already saw that he started noting a lot of important things, important marks on the body of the Supreme Lord. But now, not only did he note the beauty of the child and the marks on the body of the child, he also noted something very important. He was a great astrologer. So in those days, generally Brahmanas who studied Vedic literature also studied the Upangas. Upangas include Jyotisha. Jyotisha is also one of the important appendices of the Vedas. Okay, so they were also learned in Jyotisha Shastra. So Nilambar Chakravarti, who was a great Brahmana, he looked up at the horoscope of the child. So he saw at what time this child was born, and he could understand that there were very wonderful planetary arrangements in each of the houses in the Lord's horoscope. So now let's read a little bit from the purport and I'll try to explain. Okay, so Nilambar Chakravarti was the father of Shachi Devi. He formerly resided at Magdoba in the district of Faridpura, which is in the present day Bangladesh. Most of the learned Brahmanas at that time had some knowledge of astrology. After calculating his horoscope, Nilambar Chakravarti began to foretell the future of the Lord, who is his grandson. So even traditionally, during our times as well, whenever a child is born, we immediately consult a astrologer because we want to know how the horoscope of the child is. So we give the birth date, we give the time, the location, and we ask some astrologer to calculate the horoscope and check if everything is good. So that's what they were pretty much doing. As soon as the child is born, immediately an astrologer also comes home and they try to check out the child's horoscope. But here, the astrologer was the grandfather of the child. So Mother Shachi's father was a great learned astrologer, a great learned Brahmana, and he began to calculate the horoscope of the child. So he said, what did he tell? The particular zodiac sign that appears on the eastern horizon, he's not telling, this is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur who's explaining to us a little bit about how horoscopes work. The particular zodiac sign that appears on the eastern horizon at a given time for a place on earth is called as a lagna. Okay, I'll explain more about this. The various planets headed by the sun move throughout that zodiac. The north-south zodiac extends 90 degrees and the east-west zodiac extends 360 degrees. The zodiac is divided into 12 equal signs or rashis, each consisting 30 degrees. The second and consecutive signs after the rising sign or Janma Lagna are 12 Lagnas for wealth, brothers, friends, sons, education, enemies, wife, death, fortune, occupation, income, and expenditure. So first, let's try to understand this paragraph that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has given us. Okay, so now I'm going to reshare my screen and I'll show you the horoscope of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we'll try to understand what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is telling through this horoscope. Okay, so here we have the horoscope of Sriman Mahaprabhu. So what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is trying to tell us is that there is something called as a lagna or an ascendant. So what is an ascendant? Ascendant is when the sun, where the sun is at the time of birth, okay, where the sun is rising at the time of birth. It's not the sun, it's the sun's rising is called as a lagna at the time of birth. So depending on the time that you are born, a particular house is fixed as an ascendant. Supposing you're born at 9:30, then the lagna will be in a particular house. Supposing you're born at 10:30, the lagna will move. It will move to the next house. If you're born at 1:30, again, the lagna will continue to move. So the lagna is called as an ascendant. So if you see this is the horoscope of Mahaprabhu. And if you see this, you see AS, right? So that is the lagna. It is the ascendant. So further, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur will explain to us that the ascendant was in this particular sign of Cancer. Okay, the sign is Cancer. So this is Aries, this is Taurus, Gemini, this becomes Leo, and this is Cancer. So this is the North Indian sign, this is the South Indian. So there are two different charts, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati explains to us based on the North Indian understanding that there is 90-degree calculation and there's a 360. So he talks about north and south and east and west. So he says north and south is 90-degree and east and west is 360-degree. So if you see the North Indian variation of the chart, you can see that there is a square and there is a cross, right? So like this, the chart is made into different houses. The same thing, it's not different, it's just a different way of reading. In the South Indian chart, it's just shown as 360 degrees. Okay, it's the same thing, the same calculation, the same houses. So now Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he tells us not only is there an ascendant, but there are 12 houses in a chart. So we see that the ascendant is here, AS, and if you calculate from the ascendant, you will get a total of 12 houses. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these are the 12 houses of a horoscope. The same thing you can do here also. This is again, it's just a different variation. It's a way of seeing North Indian chart. So here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the same thing, 12 houses are there. So that's the first step that he has told us. Then he told us that each of these houses indicate different things. So he says the first house is the ascendant. So here we see for Mahaprabhu, this is the first house. The second house indicates wealth. So this is the second house here. So this indicates wealth. The third house indicates siblings. Fourth house indicates mother, house, vehicles. All this is the fourth house. The fifth house indicates one's children or what one is bringing out in this life, one's followers. So that is the fifth house. The sixth house indicates hidden enemies, diseases, debts, all that is in the sixth house. The seventh house is one's wife, one's spouse, how one's married life is. That is the seventh house. The eighth house is sudden events. The ninth house is one's spiritual progress. The 10th house is one's career or how one is seen in this world. The 11th house is for money or profit. And the 12th house is for losses. So that's all he's explained so far. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has told us about ascendant, and there are 12 houses. Each of these houses indicate different things. Okay. So what did Nilambar Chakravarti do? Nilambar Chakravarti, he picked the horoscope and he saw that there are 12 houses, of course, and he saw that all the planets in these 12 houses were very well placed. Okay, now let's continue. The word Prati Lagni means in the 12 lagnas. So we saw 12 different houses. So that is 12 different lagnas. Beginning with the lagna itself, always the first house is called as a lagna for the body. The lagna indicates body. Okay. The words Adbhuta Dekhena is understood that he saw extraordinary fruits in all the 12 houses. Nilambar Chakravarti, he saw that there were super planets placed. They were all perfect, placed in a perfect location. So it is very auspicious to actually see the Lord's horoscope. traditionally, when you read the Ramayana, they say you must see the Lord's horoscope, because Valmiki, he takes lots of effort to explain the Lord's horoscope. So similarly here you see Vrindavan Das Thakur, he takes a lot of effort to actually explain it. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who's a great astrologer, he has given very elaborate purports for these. So let's go to the next verse. Maharaja Lakshana Sakala Lagne Kahe Rupa Deki Chakravarti Hoila Vismaye. In each house, there were signs that indicated a king. Okay, so his horoscope was beautiful. The planets were placed very, very nicely. Moreover, Chakravarti was astonished by the child's beauty. So we already saw the beauty part in our previous class. So he was already astonished with the beauty, and he also saw that the planets in the different houses, they indicated that this person is a great king, meaning that the planets many of the planets were in exaltation. So when many planets are in exaltation, that person becomes a king. So that's what it is indicative of. Now, when we say king, it is not necessary that that person should be only a ruler. Okay, it can mean that that person will be a great personality. That's what it means when they say he will become a Chakravarti, he'll become a king. Okay, so here in this purport, if you see, first there is some calculation that is being made. What is that calculation? That calculation is based on the year, time, and place. Okay, based on the year, time, and place, they bring up some numbers, and then the horoscope, that chart that I showed you, is actually cast. Okay, so we don't have to get into how he got 7, 11, 8 and all that, because nowadays nobody uses such grand details, but then you can actually pick up just with the date. See Shaka, I mean, it says Shala is the year. 1407 is Shakabda, but actually it is not 1407. Based on the English calendar, these dates change. So based on that, he calculates all these details. Then he places all the planets in different houses. So which are the planets that we are dealing here? So there are 9 different planets that govern a horoscope. Every human being on earth is governed by 9 different planets. That's why if you go to a traditional temple, you have what is called as a Navagraha, and people go around that area, right? Navagraha. So there are 9 astral bodies, or you can call them planetars. Not really planets, because today in modern understanding, scientific understanding, we don't see sun and moon as a planet, but we should understand that these are celestial bodies. So 9 different celestial bodies that have an impact on the people of this world. Hence, they are called as grahas. So graha is something that has an impact on a human being. So there are a total of 9. What are these 9? So the 9 planets are, you all know, Sun, Moon. Okay. Then you have Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Rahu, Ketu, and what else? You have Mercury and Mars, correct, thanks. So Mercury and Mars. So there are totally 9 planets now. Now each of these 9 planets, we see how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains the location. So first he says, Shukra or Venus was in Mesha Rasi, in Aries, in the constellation of Ashwini. Now constellations are stars. Okay, so you all know for your birth, you would have a particular Rashi and a particular Nakshatra, right? So Rashi is the house and constellation is the star. So first he says Shukra or Venus is placed in Mesha Rasi in the constellation of Ashwini. Each Rashi has at least 3 constellations, 3 different nakshatras. For example, let's see Mesha Rasi. Mesha Rasi, you might all be knowing that there are at least 3. First is Ashwini, second is Bharani, third is Kritika. So like that, each Rashi has at least 3 nakshatras that is placed on them. So he says Shukra was placed in Mesha Rasi in the constellation of Ashwini. Second, he goes to Ketu, because that's how Mahaprabhu's chart is. I'll also parallelly show Mahaprabhu's chart. Ketu which is the 9th planet, was in Simha Rasi in Leo in the Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra. Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra is also called as Uttara Nakshatra. Next, Chandra, the moon, was in Simha Rasi in the Purva Phalguni Nakshatra in the 11th lunar mansion. Shani, Saturn, was in Vrishchiga Rashi, Scorpio, in the Jyeshta Nakshatra. Brihaspati or Jupiter was in Dhanur Rasi in Purvashada in Sagittarius. Mangala or Mars was in Makara Rasi in Capricorn in Shravana Nakshatra. Ravi, the sun, and Rahu were in Kumbha Rasi in Aquarius in Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra. And Buddha or Mercury was in Meena Rashi in Pisces in Uttara Bhadrapada. The Lagna was Simha. Mars, the owner of the 9th house, is okay. Let's first see this much, then I'll show you the rest. So he's just given us where each planet was situated. So again, I'm sharing the screen. This is the horoscope of Sriman Mahaprabhu. So he first said Moon and Ketu were in Simha Rasi. This is Leo. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, this is the Leo in the North Indian style of writing the horoscope. So we have Aries. Aries starts here. Then you have Taurus, Gemini. Then you have Cancer, and this is Leo. So Moon and Ketu were in Leo, he said. Next, he said Saturn. Saturn was in Scorpio. This is Scorpio. Then Jupiter in Sagittarius. Mars in Capricorn. And Aquarius had Rahu and Sun. This is Pisces had Mercury. And Aries had Venus. So he just said these. So with this, you can make out which planet is in which house. So he just said so much. Now, after having told us that there are 12 houses, there are 9 planets, and depending on the location of these 9 planets in the 12 houses, a chart can be formed. And these are the different planetary locations for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's chart. After having said this, now he gives some important, positions, why it is there, and what it signifies. So basically, he's going to tell us some significations of these planets being in that position. So that is the next part of the purport. So let's see what he says. Okay. So after he said this, he goes ahead and he says, the Lagna was Simha. Mars, the owner of the 9th house, is exalted. So first thing I told you in the beginning itself, when there are many exalted planets, then it means that person will become a Chakravarti. He'll become a great personality. So first he says that one of these planets is exalted. Which is the planet that is exalted? He tells Mars is exalted. I'm again sharing my screen. Okay. So you can see both now. It'll be easier for you to follow. So I'm showing both. So here he said Mars, the owner of the 9th house. Okay, here we see this is the natural 9th house, but for Mahaprabhu it is the 6th house. So Mars here is exalted. Then he says Venus and Saturn are almost exalted. So these 2 planets, Venus and Saturn, they both are almost exalted, meaning they are not fully exalted, because if Venus goes here in Taurus, it becomes exalted. But Venus is slightly moved. It is slightly moved here to Aries. Similarly, Saturn in Libra is exalted, but Saturn has slightly moved to Scorpio. So actually, what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is telling us is that at least 3 planets are exalted. These 2, Venus and Saturn, are almost exalted, but Mars is fully exalted, because Mars here is actually fully exalted. When Mars is in Capricorn, it attains exaltation. Exaltation means that planet attains full power. That's what exaltation means. Okay, so Mars is actually a soldier, right? What did Mahaprabhu come here for? He came here to give us this Yuga Dharma. So it needs a lot of Martian energy, and Martian energy is required for propagation of Harinam Sankirtan. So it tells us that Mars is exalted. So he's a great winner, meaning he's going to come here and establish the Yuga Dharma. So that is the indication. So Mars is exalted, Venus and Saturn are almost exalted. And then he says Jupiter is in its own house here. This is the own house of Jupiter. Jupiter is in its own house and it aspects Venus. So Jupiter and Venus, there is an aspect, drishti, they tell. So when one planet is situated, when the aspect of Jupiter comes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses from it. So Jupiter is aspecting Venus, which is very auspicious when Jupiter and Venus are aspecting each other. Then what is special about this Venus here? Venus is in the house of dharma or the house of religion. So if a person has a very strong 9th house from his lagna or her lagna, their life is considered very spiritual and very auspicious. Okay, auspicious not in terms of material life, auspicious in terms of spiritual life. So it says that dharma, the dharma house has Venus. Venus is a favorable planet and Jupiter is aspecting Venus. So it's a very good combination. Jupiter is a very auspicious planet. It is actually aspecting Venus that is in the 9th house. So this is a good combination and it strengthens the 9th house. So now the 9th house has become very, very strong. Neelambar Chakravarti, he explains, 9th house is extremely strong. So this is a very auspicious horoscope. One more point, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati explains, is that when the 9th house Lord occupies the 10th house or the 10th house Lord occupies the 9th house, then that person's horoscope becomes favorable for Krishna consciousness. So here he says the 10th house Lord is Venus. It is placed in the 9th house. So this horoscope is extremely auspicious. So after scrutinizingly studying each of the Lord's lagnas, Neelambar Chakravarti foretold the highest fruits and was struck with wonder by seeing the Lord's beauty, because the Lord is the original personality of Godhead. Now, let me ask you a question, okay? This is nothing to do with horoscope, but just a question. So what do you think is the weapon of the Supreme Lord, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What was the weapon of the Lord?
Beauty or holy name?
Beauty, yes, the beauty. That's how Jiva Goswami explains. Because in that verse, I mean, that verse can be read in two ways. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam. That can be read in two ways. Some people would say that, oh, the associates are the weapons. But actually, Jiva Goswami says the beauty is the weapon. Because just by his beauty, just by his presence, he could silence the impersonalists. We see the story of Prakashanand Saraswati. It was just by seeing the beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, immediately his heart was transformed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sometimes doesn't even have to open his mouth. He just has to be present there. His beauty can speak a million words. So that is the great opulence of the Lord. The Lord is always full in beauty. Okay. So now let's go on to the next verse, text 11. Vipraraga gaude hai bekahena ache viprabale seva jani bata pache. There is a prediction that in the future a Brahmana will become the king of Bengal. So we saw Chakravarti, right? And as I mentioned, Chakravarti need not necessarily always mean a king who's ruling. It can mean a lord. Okay, he's going to lord over that entire region, meaning he's going to become a great personality. So here Neelambar Chakravarti is telling there was already a prediction that in future a Brahmana boy, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is born in a Brahmin family. So a Brahmana boy will become the king of Bengal. The future will show whether this child is that personality. So seeing that there are so many auspicious combinations, Neelambar Chakravarti said maybe he is the one who's going to become that great Chakravarti of this entire area. So Neelambar Chakravarti thought that perhaps this boy in the future would become the king of Bengal, and only time will tell. And that's what happened. Text 12. Mahajyotir Tvipra sabara agrete lagne anurupa kata lagila kahite. Then the great astrologer Brahmana began to speak before everyone present about the symptoms of the various houses in the child's horoscope. It's interesting. So if you look at the verse, it says Mahajyotir with Vipra. Sometimes this word Mahajyotir can actually mean something very negative. Okay, so that is what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is going to explain to us in the purport. Nilambar Chakravarti, he was actually a truly learned scholar, and he knew the science of astrology. And sometimes, in Sanskrit, Maha, when the prefix Maha is added, it can indicate something negative. But however, it should be understood that here in this context, it really means that Nilambar Chakravarti was a good astrologer. It doesn't mean that he was a bad astrologer. So if you read the purport here, it will explain to us what this prefix Maha actually means. If one adds the prefix Maha to Shanka, Mahashanka, if one adds prefix to Taila, oil, Mahataila, or Mahamamsa, Mahavaidya, Mahajyotisha, Mahabrahmana, Mahayatra, Mahapatra, Mahanidra, then it can mean the opposite. That is, when you say Mahashanka means it can mean something that is impure conch. If I say Taila, it can mean impure oil, not pure oil. If I say Mahamamsa, means something very, very impure. Mahavaidya means a bad doctor. Mahajyotishi means a very, very bad astrologer. And Mahabrahmana means a very bad Brahmana. And Mahayatra means a very bad journey. So like this, when you add the prefix Maha, sometimes it has a negative connotation. But however, though there is a Sanskrit grammar rule like that when Maha is added, it can mean something negative, we should understand that in this verse, though Nilambar Chakravarti is described as Mahajyotir with Vipra, still it means that he's really learned. He's really learned. You should not take the negative connotation here. So that is a clarification that is being made. So here we see in this purport, there is a verse that is quoted, Shanke Taile Tatha Mamsi Vaidya Jyotishike Dvije Yatranam Patinidrayam Mahachabdo Na, sorry, it's very small, Na Dhiyate. So based on this verse, according to Sanskrit grammar, sometimes it can hold a negative connotation. But here, Mahajyoti, Jyotisha, meaning this Nilambar Chakravarti, he was definitely a very positive, he was a well-learned scholar. Text 13. Lagneyata dekeye balaka mahima rajahena vaketanre ditenari simha. The qualities I see in this child's horoscope are beyond those of a king. In fact, they are beyond all description. So first he said he is a great Chakravarti. He's going to rule over Bengal. But now he's telling, actually, if I analyze it more and more, I see that it is even beyond any king, because obviously here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His horoscope is the most transcendental. So while calculating the lagnas, Nilambar Chakravarti could understand the child's wonderful qualities. The word Rajahena means as good as a king or topmost king. Actually, no one can properly describe the great qualities of this child. Brihaspati Haya Haibe Dityavanalepi Haibai Sarva Gunera Nidhana. This child will be more learned than Brihaspati. He will soon manifest a reservoir of all good qualities. Question, who is Brihaspati?
Guru of all the demigods.
Guru of all the demigods. So Brihaspati came as whom in this, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in this world?
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya?
Yeah, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, very nice. So here this verse says that this child will be more learned than Brihaspati, and he will soon manifest a reservoir of all good qualities. We all know the pastime between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very easily defeated Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he's greater than Brihaspati. So that is what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains in this purport. Brihaspati is the most learned personality in the heavenly planets. Mahaprabhu would surpass Brihaspati in spiritual knowledge rather than in insignificant material knowledge. In other words, the knowledge of Brahman obtained through the material senses of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the incarnation of Brihaspati, was vanquished by the Lord, just as darkness is vanquished by the rising sun. In this way, the Lord would enlighten him with spiritual knowledge in the form of service to Krishna. Sriman Mahaprabhu does not have to endeavor to gradually acquire knowledge as an experienced person labors hard to gradually acquire knowledge, for he is the ocean of all auspicious qualities. Therefore, on the slightest pretense, he will display full mastery in the fields of all knowledge. So Bhagavan means not only one who has full beauty, who is full in all opulences, which includes beauty. So here we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is exhibiting beauty as his weapon. Also, Bhagavan has knowledge as one of the features, right? So knowledge also, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibits in full. He doesn't have to learn like other people to become a great scholar. He's naturally born with these qualities of great scholarship. Text 15. Se kane viprarupe eka mahajana prabhura bhavishya karma karaye katana. In that assembly, there was one great Brahmana devotee who began to describe the Lord's future activities. So like this, when they were calculating the Lord's horoscope, a great personality who was well versed in in all spiritual knowledge was present there. He was a learned Brahman, and he came there and he began to describe Mahaprabhu's future activities, especially his distribution of love of God. So he made a set of predictions. He was also learned in astrology, and he had also seen the marks on the baby. Okay, not only was Nilambar Chakravarti present there, but also a great Brahmana was present in that assembly, and he begins speaking and he gives a list of predictions that Sri Mahaprabhu would do in the future years. So these list of predictions we'll have to see in our next class because it's a bunch of verses. It's about 15 verses, so I don't want to touch that. So we will stop here. And if you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead with that for now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam. This class can only be done by you, by some astrologer. So very nicely you explained. Okay, now one question about the Lagna. So you, in the starting of the class, you said the Lagna was Cancer.
Okay.
So was it Cancer or was it Leo?
Oh, did I say Cancer? I must have. Yeah, I said it by mistake, Mataji. Sorry, it is Leo. Sorry for that.
Right?
Sorry for that. Yeah.
Yeah, because even I remember, I don't know about the chart
Simha
part.
Lagna, yeah, Simha Lagna, Simha Rashi, yes.
Simha Rashi, because one of the reasons that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also gives about Gaura Hari is that he is born in Simha Rashi. Yeah, that's
both Simha Rasi and Simha Lagna. You're right. Sorry, I messed it up. I always get confused between the two. Here
but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So this is like where it is written MOKE, right? That is what.
Yes. So MO is moon, KE is Ketu, AS is ascendant, and this is actually the Rashi of Simha, not Cancer. Sorry for that mistake. So if you're more comfortable seeing this kind of a chart, the diamond chart, then it's here. So this is actually the house of Leo, not Cancer.
So this is the first house.
Yeah, first house of the body. It begins with the body.
Mind the first house. Huh? What determines that which house will be the first house?
The Lagna will determine. So it depends on the time of birth. So if you're born at, for example, if you're born early in the morning, your Lagna will be at one point. Slowly every 2 hours, the Lagna will keep moving throughout the chart in 360 degrees. So for example, I can tell you like around 12:30, the Lagna will be somewhere here because I know my charts. I'm telling. So, but earlier than that, the Lagna will be somewhere here like this. It will just go around 360 degrees. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter like which is your Lagna. Or
doesn't matter meaning?
Means like Mahaprabhu's Lagna was Simha, somebody's.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the Lagna has a lot of indication. That's why the Lagna is so important. The Lagna and the moon become extremely important. The moon describes the internal person, okay? The person what he's thinking internally. That is the moon. The moon is the mind, right? So what the person's emotions are, all that is determined by the moon. The person's body, okay, the external, and his external activities, these are determined by Lagna. So most of our life can be understood just by the Lagna of that person, most of the life. So here Simha, he's definitely like a lion, his moon and his body, both are like a lion. His external and internal activities will be like a lion. Simha Lagna, yes.
Another thing is that this is like Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, then Mercury, Venus, and after that, these 3 blocks, they are empty. What does it mean? Like why?
So there are only 9 planets, okay, that have an influence on human beings, and there are 12 houses. So not all 12 houses can be occupied. So there will be empty houses in every horoscope that you see. Now, these empty houses, what they mean is, though there is not a planet in that house, there is something called as a ruling planet for every house. So each of these houses, they traditionally belong to a planet. Like for example, and these are all fixed, okay, they don't change. Like for example, the Leo, this sign belongs to the sun. Sun is always equated to Leo, right? So the sun, the ruling planet of this house is sun. So when Nilambar Chakravarti was describing the Lord's horoscope, he said Jupiter is in its own house. So Jupiter's own house is this. This one is Sagittarius and this is Pisces. So Jupiter belongs to both these places. So here, when you see empty houses, you should see who is the owner of that house. So the owner of this house is actually Venus. Okay, this is the owner of Venus. That's why I said the 10th house, Lord is in the 9th house. It actually indicates sannyas, a spiritual sannyas. Asceticism is seen when the 9th house Lord is placed in the 10th, or the 10th house Lord is placed in the 9th. So that's a rule. So here, the own house is Venus. Venus, if there is no planet, then you just see that house as belonging to Venus. You should imagine Venus is sitting here. Okay. So again, here, I don't see any planet, but the house is owned by Mercury. So I should see Mercury is present there. Here, this house, I don't see any planet, but this is Cancer. Obviously, it's owned by the moon. So this here, you should already imagine moon is present. Here again, Mercury. Here you should imagine Venus. Here you should imagine Mars. So now when I look at this house, like for example, let's take this house where Saturn is placed. It is owned by Mars. Okay. So there is an interaction between Mars and Saturn. That's how you read it. Did it help? I hope I didn't confuse you further.
No, I was confused like when you were telling, but now it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you, Mataji. So definitely, it's a little technical, but at least got some idea what's going on. Okay. Thank you so much for this wonderful session.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. As Kritida Sundari Mataji said, it's only possible for you to make this class interesting. Yes, Mataji. So grateful you took that challenge and did such a wonderful job, Mataji. Thank you so much. Very grateful. Of course, as Mataji was saying, it's very technical. Half of the time mind is spaced out. But then, yeah, you did a wonderful job, Mataji. Thank you very much. So I would request devotees, if you have any question, any realization, clarification, please go ahead and ask Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Preethi, Dandavat Pranam. Nice to see this class from you, my personal astrologer. Yeah, like Kirtida Mataji said, only you can do justice to this class. And yeah, I've been requesting you for an astrology class for so long. At least I got something today. So thank you so much. Yeah, beautiful analysis. I'm sure you went through all these, the chart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is again such a big seva. So thanks so much for this. Really, really appreciate it. But yeah, I would like a personal, private session with you sometime.
Sure, Mataji. Sure.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Indu Lekha Karuna Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for this wonderful technical session, Mataji. I have a question. And so this is all, the entire chart is based on one's time of birth, right? But many things happen in a person's life after that, right? I mean, and maybe everything, do we attribute every single thing to just this, the position and the time of their birth and the place of their birth, or do things change over time?
That's a good question. So, so the point is, based on the time of birth, once the planets are placed on different houses, a person's life runs in a particular pattern. Okay, there are certain patterns that can be predicted from the chart. And throughout one's life is divided into different sections as he passes through his life. Like, for example, first 10 years, then when you're 20, 25, 30, like that, you go through a life of, say, 100 years. They give you what is called as Dasha and Antardasha, or Dasha Bhukti, it is called. So each of these planets, like for example, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, they have a fixed number of years when they rule a person's horoscope. Okay. So depending on the Dasha and Bhukti, and depending on your age, this is seen, and then you can see a pattern for those many years of your life. So to answer your question, yes, it is indicative of the entire life. It is just not indicative of the moment of birth. It is actually indicative of your entire life. You can see a pattern. So often this comparison is given. Horoscope is like a GPS. Okay, it doesn't say each and everything about your life. You cannot say each and every detail about your life, but it is like a GPS. It's a roadmap. It is an idea that you get. In this phase, in this period, this is how my life will be. So that's all you can tell. You may not be able to say every minute and every prediction or everything like that. It's not meant to be that way as well. It's just an idea. Did that help, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, because I also heard before that, I mean, for when a child is born, immediately they may prepare the chart, but they don't read the horoscope, right?
Yeah, they don't read the horoscope because it's too early. Meaning you just give a basic outline like how Neelambar Chakravarti did. You just tell, okay, these are the predictions, and that's it, a general thing, but you don't go in detail. So if supposing you are now at the age of 38 and I want to see, okay, at this period, what you're really undergoing, that is when I'll open and I'll focus into that period and I'll see. But when a child is born, we don't come up with too many details. It's not needed also. You want the child to grow a bit. Yeah. Especially the first few years, they say, is not really the child's karma till the age of 14. So generally, it's an influence of the parents and lots of other things. So that's the reason they don't read much of the horoscope. But they can make generic predictions, especially for important personalities like these, like this chart. Okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very beautiful session, Mataji. Perfect. I mean, you're very athletic.
I was actually, right words were
so
coming in my mouth.
Take it
I was very excited, but I didn't get the right words in my mouth. I kept messing up the houses and the rashis and everything. I was getting confused a lot. Yeah, but yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, go ahead, Mataji.
Just one more question. Like you had mentioned that he said he would be a king or even greater than a king, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Mataji, I mean, is it because like he was He was such a, I mean, of course, he's a Supreme Lord. Is that the reason? Or was it because of the impact that he made throughout?
Yeah, both. Chakravarti means one who rules in various ways, right? Chakravarti, as I said, need not just be the king. It can be a very important personality, someone who's very, very, everyone looks up to him like that. Yeah. Who has many exalted planets generally becomes like that. He gets several yogas. He has many yogas in the chart, and he becomes very special. So very prominent personality. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. He does
Thank you
great
so much.
activities. Yeah. You see, even in Krishna's chart and Lord Ramchandra's chart and Mahaprabhu's chart, it's very obvious that these personalities are not normal. They are something superhuman.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Parima
Thank you.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for this wonderful session. It seems like you know astrology. So I just thought that maybe I can ask one question, share two things that I had heard somewhere. And if they stand to be corrected, then you can please correct me. One,
I know, I will tell. I'm not a great learned person. I just do it.
even I'm not a great learned person, but whatever little, with Krishna's mercy, whatever little we have in my little head. So Mataji, you said that Mars and Jupiter are aspecting each other. But,
Jupiter and Venus are aspecting each other.
Okay, fine. Sorry. Because it's 12th to the Mars. Jupiter is 12th to the Mars. 12th from the Mars. So I thought, how can it aspect that? Sorry, I heard it. I heard it in the wrong way. And there's one thing that I personally, I had the good fortune because my mother had studied astrology. So I used to come across many astrologers who would come home to discuss. So I had these classic questions. So I'm just sharing it for everybody in this group, that I'd asked this question that two people are born at the same time, same minute. The ascendant is the same. The planetary positions are the same. One is born as a prince and other is born in the house of a beggar. How do you explain that? That is the question I had put to one astrologer. He was a very good astrologer. And the explanation he gave me, not that he was a spiritual person, but he gave me that you are entering a restaurant. There's one more person who is entering a restaurant. You have 500 rupees in your pocket. That man has 5,000 rupees in your pocket. The 500 rupees you have in your pocket is your previous karma. And the 5,000 rupees he has in his pocket is his previous karma. Both of you will land in the same restaurant, but he will order dishes that are more expensive than yours. And you will only get to eat within that 500 rupees. So that is how I'm just explaining these things. So it is like, and one more thing I had heard was that the grahas or the planets, they influence a person depending on their level of their spiritual consciousness. For example, a person who is in a high spiritual consciousness, like we had discussed like a couple of days back about Sridhar Swami. That was somebody say, Sridhar Swami, oh my God, his wife will die, he will leave his home. But for Sridhar Swami, they never made any effect. In fact, he wanted that. Yes. So the negative becomes a positive depending on the level of consciousness. But if it happens to someone like me, I would be devastated. So it is the level of consciousness. So it is not just the horoscope that tells everything. Okay, you are born, so your destiny is fixed. It depends on the spiritual level of, because we are here to evolve. We are not here to just enjoy, have fun, and collect money. So because we are here to evolve, if we spiritually evolve, these things become less significant. It's not that we won't be affected. It will happen because astrology is a science, but the effect that we will have will be to a different degree. And that depends on how much we surrender to Krishna. So thank you very much, Mataji. This is all I wanted to share. I hope I have not made any mistake. And if I have, please forgive me and please correct me.
No, thank you, Parima Mataji. I think that was the message of this entire class. It's not for to think, okay, astrology is everything or something like that. That was the message that I had to speak at the end of the class. You did it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
I was about to say Parima Mataji drew the conclusion.
Yeah, Parima Mataji drew the conclusion. But yeah, it was, yeah, of course, yeah, we should definitely meditate on the transcendental horoscope of the Lord. Yeah. Thank you, Parima Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Preethi Vilasini Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much, Mataji, for this class. As everybody is saying, only you can do this class, nobody else. Thank you, Mataji, for your sweet association. It will take for me like another 2 times I have to hear to understand it. But it is very nice to know, as you said, you have to know about it, as you were explaining even in Lord Rama's astrology also is described in very great detail. One has to know about it. So thank you so much for letting us know in detail about this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Mataji, there is a question from Sukha Mataji in the chat that I think the karma thing that you said, it doesn't take in what you said, it doesn't take place till age of 14. You said she's asking 5 or 8 years. I think that's the question.
Yeah, around 8, I think. Yeah, maybe around 8 to 14. I don't know. It should be there in some scripture. I mean, these Jataka related stuff, it should be.
Even Mataji, they say Ekadasi also, if one child is not doing below 7, it's okay. But after 7, it is like, everything spiritually after 7, everything should be strictly followed by the children. I heard it somewhere. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I heard it. After 7, we have to be, everything should be strictly followed. It doesn't matter either your child or, big or small, like that. 7 means you have to follow. I don't know if it is right.
8 to 8. I think I heard is that, I read it as 8 somewhere, like after 8.
It should be, yeah, it could
be. Should follow. And also, I don't know if it's a custom that after 5 years, they don't, like they make the horoscope, but then they don't read it or whatever, At least in our
culture. And most traditions, they don't get into details because it's not needed for a child.
Yeah, at least up to 5, right, Preethi?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It depends on the astrologer. So here you see Nilambar Chakravarti has given out a lot. I feel he gave out a lot. Yeah. But he didn't get into specifics, He didn't get into too much specifics. Yeah. Yeah, it's all nothing like nothing like, oh, it's a rule that you never say anything. It's never like that. Depends on the astrologer what they want to reveal at what time. Yeah. Some things are not needed to be revealed, so they keep quiet. Like, for example, you will read as the verses go. This Brahmana who begins to speak, he already sees that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to take sannyas, but he doesn't tell it out. He just says the other things. So it's entirely up to the astrologer to decide what they want to say at what time. Yeah. Certain things are not needed because, as soon as Mahaprabhu is born, why do you want to talk about sannyas? Because everyone will become sad and it's not the need of the hour. So like that.
Yeah. I also was thinking, Preethi, that, even when a child is born, it's a very joyous occasion, right? For the parents, everybody, and
everyone. Yeah.
That's why perhaps they don't want to, do any major reading. Or anything.
Correct. Yes, Mataji, Kirtira Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji, like you have shown this to Rashi and Navamsa. What is this Navamsa and?
Navamsa is a lens into the 9th house. So when you put a lens, like a focus into the 9th house, you zoom into the 9th house, then you can make another chart through the 9th house. So that is Navamsa. It is generally, Rashi chart is always substantiated with the Navamsa chart. The life, when one makes a prediction with the Rashi chart, they substantiate the happenings with the Navamsa chart. So Navamsa is a lot of internal thing that happens within that person. And for women, they say, oh, after marriage, you see more of the Navamsa chart. So different astrologers have different reasons why they would see a 9th chart. And it's also, it's a focus into your married life also. Navamsa is used for many reasons. It's used for understanding your internals, meaning how you think, how you behave. It's also used for seeing your life after marriage and your mental composure and all that. So Navamsa becomes important. Rashi and Navamsa are always looked together. So that's why I put the Rashi. I put the Navamsa. But actually, each of these houses can be focused inside. Like you have Dvavamsa, Trisamsha, like third house focus, fourth house focus, fifth house focus. Like Dashamsha is very famous for career focus. They focus into the 10th house and then they build a chart from the 10th house like that.
And in every house also there is 12 houses.
Huh.
Oh, Krishna.
Yeah, every house also you can make 12 houses. Yes.
Oh my God. So here it is Navamsa that is you shown, right?
Yeah, I've just shown Navamsha because they show Rashi and Navamsha together always. So I just copy pasted the Navamsha part, though my software had other parts as well. So I just put Navamsha. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And for Ekadashi, as Vinita Gandharvika Mataji was saying, it is 8 to 80, like before 8 and
8
up
to 80.
80.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji, for clarifying. I was training Vrunda, like, she's coming. So before that only we start, but I was thinking, before that age, at least she have to completely follow that Ekadasi. Thank you, Mataji, for telling me. Haribol.
Yeah. So we know in the story of Vidura, his previous life, not Vidura, sorry. Was it Vidura? The one who had offended this. Who? No. Mandavya. Manduka. Yeah, he had pricked the. Yeah. Manduk. So yeah, and Vidura was Yamraj, right? So in that story, the age of the child till when he should not be accounted for offenses is mentioned. So I don't remember it off my head now, but in that story it will come.
Markandeya Rishi?
No, Manduka Rishi.
It is there in Bhagavatam also. First canto, so the story is there.
Yeah.
I think 8 years, Mataji. I have heard.
Okay,
that.
Then, yeah, that's
I have heard, Mataji. Please don't take it.
Yeah, I think even Suksagri Mataji said 8. So most people said 8. So yeah, that should be the age. Yeah. I was just thinking where it comes, I forgot. So I just said something like 13 or 14. Yeah. But anyway, till 8 generally. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhupada gives the story, but not the age. But from a speaker, I think I have heard it as 8. But
okay.
Yeah. So Swati Mata, Sita Preethi Mataji is giving a comment for you. You want me to read or you will read, Mataji?
Yeah, I can read. Let me stop screen share. Yeah. Thank you, Sita Preethi Mataji. Nice to have you on the call. Yeah. Anyone else? Anything? Or we can end the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Well, I am so happy that it was you who spoke on like one of my all-time favorite subjects. And so I'm looking forward to like re-listening to this class about 4 or 5 times. That's what I'll need to get everything. But I do have a couple of short questions. One is, it just never occurred to me to think of who Shachi Mata's father was in Krishna Leela.
Sandipini. No.
Garga
Muni. Nilambar Chakravarti was Garga.
Gargamuni?
Yeah.
That makes sense because he was the astrologer, right, for Krishna Leela.
Yeah.
And another thing, did Lord Chaitanya's grandfather also do like past life regression for for Lord Chaitanya?
Past life regression.
Mataji has some interesting questions.
I know, seriously, right? And I don't know what else he speaks. I mean, as we move through the verses, we should be able to see. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, did he talk about this child was born earlier like that in different colors, like how Gargamuni talks?
Only Gargamuni talks. I never heard in Chaitanya.
Nilambar Chakravarti doesn't talk about it.
Okay.
Actually, like, this one of the, like we saw Navamsha, right? Navamsha, like that. I think D16 is actually for previous life. You can see. You can see. This is all Parashara Hora Shastra. This is the method of reading the chart given by Sage Parashara. So there are different styles. Then there's Jaimani and there's so many others. But Parashara is the most famous, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also has, he has expertise in Parashara.
Somebody I know, they just did their, like, they just had their, or did their past life regression, but the astrologer who did it for them, they didn't take their birth time or birthplace. So I wonder, is it actually possible to do?
It's possible. It's possible in Nadi. So there are different, even Nadi also. So astrology is just not Parashara Hora Shastra. It's just like, in science you have biology, chemistry, physics, like that. The astrology is so vast. Predictive astrology. So there's predictive astrology, and there is astrology just to see Hora, meaning just to see the time and calculate the auspicious times and do yajnas and all that. So now in predictive astrology itself, there are different styles. The most popular one is the Parashara Hora Shastra. That is this, these 12 houses based on 9 planets based on time. Then there is Jaimini. Jaimini may need only a few, a few details of a prediction, and they have a different style of reading charts, and they do prediction. Then there is Nadi. Nadi means not only the famous form of Nadi Jyotish is like they have these palm leaves that was recorded by great sages, and it is found only in certain places. So there's Bhrigu Nadi, Agastya Nadi, like that. There are different Nadis. And in Rajasthan, Indradyumna Maharaj once, he had seen his Nadi once. So there is a specific place where you should go to, and they have preserved these Nadis. So you go and you read that. Then there is one, and there are some in Tamil Nadu as well. In Kerala is very famous for Nadi. There are some Nadis in Kerala. So that is one style. But in Nadi itself, there are different varieties. Just with chart, you can do one variety of Nadi. With palm leaves, you can do one variety of Nadi. The other one, like you mentioned, they don't need time of birth, nothing they need. You just go and sit in front of them. They can do a live Nadi. So yes, in short, to answer your question, without time of birth, there are astrological methods to do it. Different Nadi varieties are there. They can do.
And you can get kind of detail, like, what maybe what ethnicity they were.
Everything they can tell. Who your parents are, what are your parents' names, where are you coming from, everything.
Wow.
I have done a few for myself as well, and I've seen that some are super accurate, some are totally bogus. So
yeah, because I know somebody they've gotten very different readings from different people, and they both seem to be reputable. So I don't know.
Yeah, and you can actually make out which is authentic and which is not. I mean, if you sit with them for 5-10 minutes, you can make out.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. And again, I'm so happy that you did this section. So happy.
I did it for my own selfish desire to read. So thank you so much for all being a good audience and hearing. Thank you all so much.
Okay.
So much, Mataji. Thank you, Gauri Mataji. Thank you. Is there any more reflection, question, comments? Okay, if there are none, so with Mataji's permission and all the Vaishnavas' permission, shall we end the class, Mataji?
Sure.
So we're very grateful for the wonderful enlightening class today, Mataji. So we'll pay our obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patitanam pavnevyo vaishnavyo namo namah. Shri Caitanya Bhagavat ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you so much, Mataji. We look forward for your association in the future again. And thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. We'll meet
Hare
again.
Krishna.